Marco Contreras is with us, and he is a solid businessman. He is a rock star. And I want to just say right up front, he is the American dream happening right in front of you. So if you're interested in having the American dream happen in your life, you're going to enjoy Marco. And he is going to give you some principles of success, some principles of faith. He has a solid family, children, and had little puppies last year, I think, as well. Just all kinds of stuff taking place in his life. And he's also a politician. So you're going to really enjoy this. And let me just say this. He's also a man of God, an ordained minister. I want you to prepare yourself. When we come back, you're going to be hearing directly from Marco Contreras. So glad to have you here. We're going to bring you on. So glad to have you with us at the Futurist Rant. And we are going to just bring whatever necessary for the people listening. You are one of my favorite people in the world. You don't know that, but I just really love connecting with you. You're never down. You're always up. You're always on fire. You're always making stuff happen. And you are literally, I mean, you're a hero to people. And you say that about other people, but literally, as people watch you, you are a hero. You're making stuff happen, and you are the American dream. You're the reason this flag is flying. It's because of you, Marco. And so we're excited to have you here in the Futurist Rant. Welcome, Marco, to the Futurist Rant.
Man, thank you so much, Tracy, for having me. Really an honor to be here with you. I've looked up to you for years now. Honor everything you're doing, what you're building, your vision, and I love the name, the Futurist. That's who you are, and it's actually one of my top 5 strengths too. So
really?
Maybe that's why we connect so well. Yep. Always thinking about the future. Marco, come back. Where you at?
It's like, I'm such an idealist. I'm always out there swimming in the future. And we got to bring back this pragmatic stuff. But that's okay. We need the dream, and we need to break out and be that futurist. That's excellent.
That's right.
So you've had a wild couple of years, but I want to before I get into all of that, you're married. You have 2 children.
Yep, a boy and a girl, 12 and 9.
Children. And your wife, Natalie, is a businesswoman and also an influencer. You are a businessman, an influencer, an ordained minister, and a politician. You are, and you were born in another country. You were born outside of America, came to America. The America dream. Is that true? Am I seeing that right?
Very close. I was born in the U.S. and then when I was 2 days old, my mom took me to Mexico because my parents couldn't afford to raise me here. So I grew up in Mexico until I was 16. That's right.
And you didn't speak English until when?
I didn't speak English until I went to high school. My dream was to play football here in the U.S., American football, and I didn't really know how to speak English. So I knew how to say a few things, but then I started dating Natalie, who is my wife now. High school sweethearts, and she really taught me how to speak English. I didn't really know how to say anything, and that's where I learned.
What a champion! So you're in high school, and you meet the woman of your dreams, and she teaches you how to speak English. What a powerhouse! What a wonderful thing. We need to have her probably also interviewed at some point. I want the viewers and the listeners to hear that. He had a dream to play football, came to America to play football. Didn't speak English, learned how to speak English, and now is an entrepreneur running, I don't even want to put the number on your business. You can tell us later, but a very wealthy business, a very prosperous business. And so how did that happen? How did you go from, what happened in your football career? Actually, I know that you went from football to business. What was the transition for you?
When you said that, it's funny. I hadn't thought about it, but when you have a dream, you can't let anything stop you. My dream was to play football, and I remember I was living in Mexico, so I had to cross the border every day, and we had to wait at the border for 2 hours because the line was so long every morning. Get in line at 6, and then. But to me, it was just like normal. So what do you do? I live over here. I want to play football over there, so I have to go to school. And then 9/11 happens, and then went into 5 hours waiting at the border. Okay. So that's when I was like, that might be a little too much. I can't be there at 2 a.m. every morning at the line. So I asked my coach, said, "Coach, is there any way I can move in with you?" And
Wow.
I had no awareness of social cues. He had just gotten
Yeah.
married. I can't imagine my wife saying yes to me bringing someone into the house. I just got married. um, and but my coach was so gracious, and it was really cool that he was a white Caucasian man. And
Yeah.
so my first encounter with America is being embraced by this white family.
Wow.
They actually almost like adopted me. They used to call me Marco David. His last name was David. And that he would give me money for lunch. I mean, it was the most incredible experience. But at 16, I pretty much moved out, moved with my
Wow.
coach, was living the dream in my eyes. Going to
Yeah.
school, playing football. I meet Natalie. Don't know how to speak
Yeah.
English. I know how to
Yeah.
say, bathroom, and did I get an A?
Did I get
But
an A?
yeah, yeah.
That's awesome. And then you progress. How did you get into business?
So then after high school, so I played football in college for a couple of years. I went to USD, University of San Diego. Jim Harbaugh was the coach, which he's a
Okay.
champion right now. I don't know if you heard he was on the news for being a champion for life,
Yes. Yeah.
criticized, highly criticized.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then I stopped. I feel the call of God on my life, and became an intern at my church. I just stopped college. I'm like, I'm going all in. And I have this kind of an extremist sort of personality. I get obsessed with things,
Yes.
and I'm like, okay, I'm going all in. And then I'm doing this internship. I feel called to the ministry, and then I feel the Holy Spirit saying, "Hey, you got to go back and finish your degree." So I went back, finished economics, and then I just went into youth ministry. I was in youth ministry
Okay.
for 5-6 years, and then I was super broke. I couldn't afford anything. I mean, like, I was making very little, and then we tied, and then there's like rent that was about 2/3 of our income, just about half.
Yeah.
So until I'm like, God, why am I so poor? Like, I'm your servant. Like, it's not what the Bible teaches. You teach about prosperity.
Yeah.
And I felt the presence of God just hit me, and I felt the mantle of prosperity really coming on me, and I felt this peace. I knew something was going to change. So then I had this opportunity to um, to acquire my mother's company in Mexico.
Okay.
So she would
Okay.
partner with a customs broker, and she said, I'm done. I said, wait a second. She said, if we can make a deal, if you want to, if you become a customs broker, you can acquire my company, and then, I take care of it forever. I'm like, great. I'm
Wow.
going to do it anyway. So
Yeah.
I went in, and I'm like, okay, went online and like, what's a customs broker? So so I learned what a customs broker was. So I have a license from Homeland Security that allows me to represent importers in the U.S.
Wow.
And
Okay.
I passed the exam the first time, which was a miracle in and of itself. Only 24% of the nation passed the exam. Everybody that took it,
Wow.
then launched a business. I didn't know anything about the industry, but I'm like, well, I have no other way to go. Like,
Yeah.
I got to
Yeah.
go provide for my family.
Yeah.
And then we grew the company, and it's been 10 years now, doing well. Been able to launch other companies, a trucking industry, a trucking company, a consulting firm. I'm in the crypto space as well. We have an internet company in Mexico. So
That's
uh,
amazing.
yeah,
That's
it's
amazing.
been a really cool run.
And it's all under Contreras, Contreras Enterprise.
Enterprise, yep, yeah.
Yeah,
I have
that's
a
wonderful.
bunch of different things. Yeah.
So, but now, so you're in crypto space, you're in internet space, customs, trucking, and then you go back into ministry. I mean, you're doing well. You're just prospering. And you get ordained. What, last year, 2021? You get ordained for the second time by the Awaken
Yes,
Church. And are you a pastor at Awaken as well?
I'm a pastor at Awaken. Yep. We serve at
That's
our East Lake campus. We have about 6 campuses. Um, and yeah, it's my passion, like really just serving the Lord, building the kingdom. It's like my number one thing. It's my
that's
number
awesome.
my obsession. Yeah.
And I love the word obsession. That just makes me tingle when I hear it. It's my thing.
I know.
It's my thing. It's my thing. It's
Yeah.
like people think I'm a little. They call me militant. I'm so obsessed about everything. So
I love it.
it's like the realization though is, how do you do in your life, in your lifetime, in the last 10 years, what it takes most people to do 50, 60 years? You've done it in the last 10 years. You've been successful in a business that you didn't know anything about. You passed, I think, what'd you say, 24% of the people in the nation don't even pass the test. You passed the test. You take over your mother's business, or expand it, however you did it. You learn English. You get married. You have 2 kids. You live in the sunniest place in the world, and you smile all day. You play golf twice a week. I mean, how did you do this in a 10-year period where most people are still making excuses for 10 years? How do you do that?
Wow, man, that's such a good question, Tracy. Honestly, I feel like if I could boil down my life over the last 10 years, you know what Dr. Cho says, or said, you pray and obey.
Yeah.
And I've felt some, doing some crazy things, like, you know, giving a lot of money away, or going into this industry, go do this, go do that. But I found that every time I step out in faith and obey the word of the Lord, as scary as it seems, I just feel the wind of God behind my sail. It just pushes me, and then I find myself like, this is my dream home, Tracy. This is another
Yeah.
crazy story. So
Yeah.
it's 2017, and we're looking for a house, and this house was not on sale. So we left a note on the floor over there. Said, hey, if you're ever interested in selling the house, uh, give us a call. They never called. So we moved into the other house. Um, it's a crazy miracle, but we move into the house, and then my wife tells me about 7, 8 months ago, hey, I feel like it's time to move. I said, time to move? We just finished our backyard. What are you talking about? And she's like, I'm telling you, I feel like God showed me it's time to move. And I'm like, no, like, leave me alone.
Yeah.
And then and then and then she prayed. She said, God, speak to Marco. And then
Oh,
I have a dream where I see my dad. My dad had passed away in 2017. This is about 8 months
yeah.
ago.
Yeah.
And I said, Dad, I think we're thinking about moving. And he said, that's a good thing, son. So as soon as I woke up, I'm like, oh shoot, this was God speaking to me. So then I go get the Rhema word of the Lord, Tracy. I go to the Bible, and I'm like, God, I speak to me. If I'm about to sell my house, like, I've worked so hard for this thing. That house was 1.3 at the time. Well, when
Yeah.
we moved in 2018,
Yeah.
and I'm like, and I just felt like God spoke to me. I said, okay, we got to go. We got to go.
Yeah.
I just felt, when you know that,
Yeah.
like, this is the
Yeah.
thing. So we call a realtor, hey, let's put the house on the market and let's just go for it. We don't know if the offer is going to get accepted at this house,
Yeah.
but we got to go. And the comps were about 1.8, 1.9, maybe 2, max
Yeah.
2. I said we're going to go for 2.5. Let's
Yeah.
believe for 2.5. And we do our open house. The first day we get an offer, Tracy, for $2.5 million.
That's
I
excellent.
said, accept it, accept it. So, so took the proceeds, went over to this house, got accepted, and so that's been really the story of my life. Tracy, is just miracle after miracle after miracle, and I can only give him the credit. It's not really
That
me.
is that is just beautiful, and there's so much to talk about in that that statement there. I met with a business guy a few years ago, and I said, how is your word life? What are you doing with the word of God? Are you I mean, there's a lot of people in business that don't apply the word to their life. They go and they get stuff from Harvard. They get their
Hmm.
information from other aspects. They go to Tony Robbins, or Dean Grazioso, or someone else, and they get business, but they never go to the word of God.
Mm.
And to hear you say, when I needed to make a decision, I went to the word of God and said, speak to me. Now
Yeah.
that's going to be new for some of the listeners. That's going to be new because
Mm.
they're listening, because they're in business. They don't have a
Wow.
clue. Whether they're Christian or not Christian, they don't have a clue of how to hear from God, or to sit down and to open up the Bible and say, God, I need you to speak to me on this. And I
Hmm.
remember I asked this guy, so what are you doing with your business, with your word life, with your business? And I've had a lot of conversations with business guys that think this way, and they said, well, the word of God doesn't speak to me about business. I don't get anything out of
Wow.
it from business. And so they don't like to read it, because their whole life, they're passionate and they're obsessed with business, but they
Hmm.
can't see the connection. And how did you make that connection, and how do you keep that connection? How do you make sure that
Wow.
you're not just running ahead and going, okay, I feel like this is good, my wife wants to do
Mm.
it, where you
Yeah.
literally sit down and you go, okay, God, I need to hear from you. That is different,
Yeah.
Marco. That is so different. That is what this generation needs. That's what we need to hear more about. So how do you do it?
Well, to me, the Bible, Tracy, it's a living, uh, breathing book.
Yeah.
It's still speaking. So as I sit down and I'm reading, I'm like literally asking God, like, Holy Spirit, speak to me. Let a verse just jump out of the page
Yeah.
and just, is this something I'm supposed to do?
Yeah.
And as I was reading Acts chapter 13, and there's a verse that says, "And your house," no, it says something like, um, "You will be a light to the Gentiles." And I just felt it, like this is me. Like my
Yeah.
house will be a light to the people
Yeah.
around me, and
Yeah.
that just filled my heart with faith. And you know
Yeah.
what faith is? The
Yeah.
substance, is the title deed of what you feel.
Yeah.
Like I know I have it.
Yeah.
So then, faith kicks in. You're just like, all right, let's go. And then you see it all pass. You look back, it's like everything I saw like really happened. But
Yeah.
I do this with every major decision. Like when it went into politics, it was the same thing.
Yeah.
I felt God speaking to me, and I needed. And I mean, that was a kind of a crazy story because I had um, prophetic words since I was 19. Then like 5 years later, then 2018. Hey, you're gonna step into the political sphere. And it was 2020 when I felt something hit me, like it's time.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right. But I know it's another story, but
No,
it's
we
kind of
want to
how it
hear it. I want
happened.
to hear that story because, uh, you know, one day I get this text from you, and or I get somehow I get a video of your posturing yourself to run, and I was like, this is amazing, man. This is incredible. So how did you come to that? Your business, your family's doing well, everything's doing well, and then all of a sudden, these words, these prophetic words, and for anyone listening, watching, prophetic words is literally about, we use the term in the marketplace, the futurist, that person that's
Mhm.
thinking about the future, that's going to the future. Well, we believe that God thinks about the future, and He's a futurist as well. If we were to rewrite the Bible, we would probably use the word futurist if in speaking about a prophet or someone who's speaking about the future. So I want you to know that we are talking about that inspiration that gives us sight for the future. And so He's had these prophetic words. So Marco, you had these prophetic words over the years, but now it's like these prophetic words catch up to you. How does that happen? Tell me about that.
Yes. So I'm sitting in my office, my other home in 2020, and I'm watching the senator talk about freedom of religion in our country and how it's being attacked. And I finished the speech, watching the speech, and something, I know it was the Holy Spirit, just hits me on the inside. I'm like, no, because I knew it was time. Crazy. And I go and run to my wife because everything we do together. We're best
Yeah,
friends and we make decisions together. Say, hey, babe, I think it's time to run for politics, to run for office. She's like, okay, let's pray. And my wife has been probably the greatest gift to me because she's always believed in me, Tracy. Like it doesn't matter what I say. Like if I believe there's something we got to do, she's like, all right, let's go. She's always up for the adventure. And um,
that's
and to
beautiful.
me, to have my wife believe in me, it's like I can do anything. I feel like I'm Superman,
Yeah,
like if she told me I was Superman, I'd probably believe it, like go fly, you know what I mean? But we said, let's pray. So I just went ahead and I almost put God to the test. I said, God, if this is you, I need you to give me, I'm going to call in right now and provide a campaign manager. I started coming up with terms that I didn't know about, like
wow,
I need someone to help me with fundraising. I need someone in the marketing department. So my business, insider background just kicked in. Like I got to come up with a team, if I'm going to run
yeah,
for office. So I need people to help me. I need people around me. I need marketing. I need a manager. I need a consultant. I need something. 2 weeks later, my wife gets a random text from an old friend from our old church. Hey, has Marco ever considered running for office?
wow.
And we're like nobody knows about this. So she said, yes. My friend so and so wants to help run his campaign. So we have a meeting. All of a sudden, before we knew it, Tracy, we had a whole team just ready to run. And that's how
Wow,
the whole thing started. Started raising
wow,
funds and ran for the assembly. Now here I am running for city council in Chula Vista. Made it through the
yeah.
primary. It was 5 of us. Top two made it. So we
Congratulations.
found, victorious. We were victorious there. So now we gotta finish the race and win in November.
Yeah, come on. Well, we expect that. We expect you to win in November. And so you just decided. I mean, of course, you have a lot of. It's like you have a front loading, an onboarding process before you make the decision. But once you make the
Hmm.
decision, it's all fire. It's just like,
Hmm.
okay, we're gonna get with my
Gotta
wife.
go.
We're gonna get with God. We're gonna get in the Bible, and we're gonna plant. We like. I need this. I need this. I need this. And I think a lot of people may miss this, that when you prayed about these things, then the next thing, it almost seems like a coincidence or random that someone would call and say, hey, has Marco ever thought about running? And that's not coincidence. That's literally the activity of a supernatural God in your life that is
Hmm.
activated while you're believing that he's going to lead and guide you. I do you believe that you're guided, like you're a guided person, like in everything you do, or in just some things you believe that God is ordering your steps? How do you live
Absolutely.
this? You
I
live
feel
that
like he
life?
shows. I feel like he shows me the future and what's my
Yeah,
future, and then I
that's
step
beautiful.
in. But what's really cool too, though, is I really believe in wisdom. I believe
Yeah,
in seeking counsel. I believe in not making decision off on your own. Like being a rogue. I
yeah,
just think there's like if you're gonna make big decisions, you gotta have support. So I
have
went and
support.
talked to the I have people that speak into my life. Have about 2 3 mentors and said, here's
Yeah,
what I'm thinking, and they were all in agreement. They're like, this is for you, man. You got to go. So you have my wife's support. I feel like God is calling me. I have the people in my life that's speaking, that have mentored me over the years. So that's like it's almost like you can't go wrong. It's almost like you're cheating in life, when
yeah,
you have. And you know what? You go, and if you fail, hey, you get back up and you try again. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
you're not going to
That's
be
the word.
successful at every single thing you do,
Yeah.
but if you fail, you can't be so afraid of failure that you don't try anything. But if you,
Well, you ran the first time, right? And you
hmm
learned, right?
yeah.
And I don't know what was the outcome of that. I know that you were running again for a different office. So, but you learned,
Yeah.
right? You run the first time. And that's what I like about, that's how you get to where you are in 10 years. I just want to say it.
Mhm.
That's how you get to where you are in 10 years. You go and you go and you go. And when it doesn't work out exactly the way you expect, you learn and then you go again and you go again. I don't know if you've ever thought about how far your life has come in the last 10 years. And I know it's been a journey for you, but if you think about 10 years, if you just stood next to someone else that's been dreaming for 10 years and someone who's been actioning out, just been acting out what they're dreaming, they're futurist, but they're functionally active person, obsessed, then you're that person, you're that dream. And so I know I just want to let everyone know that you can do the next 10 years is really up to what you want to do. It's really up to you. Of
Wow.
course, add God into it, get the counsel into it, get wisdom into it. But there's a lot of people that are making excuses for why their dreams are not coming to
Mm.
pass. And it seems like, Marco, you're not that kind of person. You don't have you don't have an excuse maker in you.
Oh, Tracy, that is one of uh, my core values. There's no
Yeah.
excuses in life. The moment
Yeah.
you embrace an excuse, you put a ceiling on your life.
Oh, that's
You
great.
cannot, like if there's always a solution to everything. Like
Yeah.
there's don't take no for an answer. Something happens to your life, well, let's find another way. Let's look at a
Yeah.
different angle. I teach my kids all the time. There are no flipping excuses in life. So I think they're catching it, because and they're like, sorry, daddy, sorry. They come up with an excuse. But yeah, you put a ceiling on your life, and ceilings
Yeah.
are some of the worst things. I mean, it's like limiting beliefs, and then they hinder you from growing. And I
Yes.
just believe my because I'm a person of faith. One of my greatest fears is to get to heaven and for God to be like, I had so much more for you.
Yeah, that's mine
So
too. That's my
I
biggest. I'm like,
just I'm always up for the challenge. I believe I can become anything. I
yeah,
believe in always taking the challenge, and I believe that God can do anything. So
yeah.
I'm like, let's go. If I fail, I fail, but I don't care. I'll try again. I'll go do something else. So
Yeah, that's it. And but failure is not a fear. And that's one of the
mhm,
things that I think, like Winston Churchill said, is failure is not fatal. And so when you
Mm.
fail, but not trying is fatal. Just not trying is fatal. And there's a lot of
Hmm.
people. What do you say to someone who's been dreaming right now? They've been dreaming and they just have not, they just haven't pulled the trigger on the thing that they've been
Mm.
dreaming. What do you say to them?
Well, I think there's a lot to it because then you bring in your background. You bring in maybe you've failed before, and
Yeah,
if you've experienced failure, that can bring in shame,
yeah,
embarrassment, and then can hinder you and keep you from it. And then you adopt this life of believing that, I guess it's not for me to succeed. It's for them. It's for my mom. It's for my friend. Um, so I do believe that you have to position yourself in a place where you can grow, in your vision. That's why I think church is amazing.
yeah,
Going to
church.
a church like yours, a futurist like yours, where
Yeah,
where you're going to hear uh, inspiring words messages that help you believe.
yeah,
So the first
yeah.
thing I'll do an inventory. Someone who hasn't pulled the trigger on their dream, do an inventory. Like on
That's
your
great.
life, your background, your history. Like what is keeping me from going all in? And then once you identify your, call them weaknesses or whatever you have, well, you just don't let that stop you.
Come on.
You just take risks, and it's
Yeah,
okay, and take risks. Something really cool. Once you experience failure and rejection, then you find freedom, actually, because
yeah,
it's not that bad.
yeah.
You get rejected, and well, it wasn't that bad. I can do it again, and I can do it again. It's like you get
Let's
knocked
do it
out.
again. Yeah, yeah.
Well,
Let's do
it
it
wasn't
again.
that bad. Or get back. I'll fight again.
Yeah,
I think those
yeah,
are the people that are the most fearless. Is people that experience the some of the worst things that you can experience. Like, oh, it's not that bad. I'll try again.
yeah, yeah. That's excellent. So we talked a little bit about faith, and you're a man of faith, and we see your faith life just by, we can tell the room you're in is a part of your dream house. You're living the life. You're taking, care of your family. You're providing. In When 2020 was devastating for other people, you're advancing. You started a trucking company, and I think you were with Rudy.
Yeah,
Are you? Yeah, great. And you guys are doing great
yeah, we're
business
partners. Yeah,
partners. And I mean, there's just so much happening. What's next? What's next in business for you? What's the next? And I want to talk about politics. We're not done with that. But what's
yeah,
next in the finance world, and how are you posturing yourself for that?
that's great. I really believe in empowering people.
Yeah,
I believe that in trust people. I believe you
yeah,
can't grow unless you trust
yeah,
people, and releasing. So I'm one of my philosophies in life is finding someone. Actually, stole this from Colin, but find
yeah,
someone who's really competent, that I can build on, that I can trust.
yeah,
So in everything that I'm doing, I try to, start something and then build someone up so they
yeah,
can do an amazing job. Hopefully, to do it better than me. Release them. So I'm right now. I'm working on two different projects. One is an internet company in Mexico. It's powered by WeLink. WeLink is a U.S. company that's raised a ton of money. I would say probably the company is probably now worth anywhere from 500 to $1 billion. They this My friend, the CEO, developed this incredible technology where, how the fastest internet is fiber, right? If
yeah,
you have fiber, it's the fastest.
yeah.
Well, he
Yeah,
developed this technology where through these radios, you can wirelessly transfer the speed at the speed
yeah,
of
yeah.
fiber. It's
Okay,
incredible. And
okay.
and at the same time build a mobile network. So we're bringing Rudy and I actually are bringing this to Mexico. So we're working on it's been about 3 years now, and we're still launching that. We built our pilot is in Tijuana. So we actually have a meeting, very important meeting tomorrow. That's that. But I was trying to position myself. What's next? Like,
Yeah,
what do people need? How can you serve people? So one, people need food. I'm in the industry of produce.
yeah,
People need to breathe. You can't sell air, right now or yet. You know what I mean?
yes,
People need water, and people need internet. So
yeah.
I think it's a very important business. And then also, I'm in the crypto space. Started this investment club that's doing really well.
Okay,
We have an incredible team that's trading, and I believe that cryptocurrencies are part of the future as well. So
yeah,
we're positioning ourselves for what may.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome because my four focuses are communication, like so
Mhm.
television and internet.
Yeah.
So I think that's great that you're in that space. Crypto, of course, is huge space. Real estate and transportation, which is your trucking and all of
Mhm.
that. So you're in the spaces that I think are very viable for the future as well. That's great. So let's talk about freedom. Some of freedom, because there was
Mhm.
something in you, and there's something in you that makes you not just a word, but when the prophetic word comes or the futurist word hits you, and it makes you
Mhm.
that person who's looking to the future, you also get tied to a mandate or a certain kind of energy.
Mhm.
Something may frustrate you with what's going on in the earth. Something may excite you with what could be. Tell me about your political picture and where's your stance and what do you want to see happen? And you're running, so talk to us. Talk to us about what's
Yeah.
going on.
Well, I'm a believer and lover of freedom. I just think
Yeah,
we live in the greatest country in the world. The Constitution in the United States is, I think, some of God's greatest gift to
yeah,
humanity. A
yeah,
lot of countries adopted it. So I
yeah,
really believe in the principles we have because I've experienced them. Like I love the opportunity that we get to have here. I love that I came, with nothing into the country and was able to leverage the opportunities that our country
yeah,
gives us, and was able to grow. So I love that. I just saw how there were these, who are supposed these politicians who are supposed to be public servants, just really um, taking advantage of things for themselves and bringing control to society
yeah,
and culture. So I just that was really fueled me.
yeah,
That's not what our country's about.
yeah,
So I just decided to run, and hey, maybe I can make a difference. I feel like I've been gifted to make good decisions. So I want
yeah,
to be in the council in my city to make good decisions. So
yeah.
this
Very
is
good.
what's sad though, Tracy. In my city, to make good decisions means to support our police department with funds. The whole defund the police
Yeah,
movement, it's
yeah,
still there.
yeah,
In my
yeah,
city, they're trying to divert funds, withhold funds for staffing and gear for the police, to put them in the reserves, fund. Well,
yeah,
that's called defunding the
yeah. That's
police.
yeah,
And
yeah,
you've seen all over the nation what happens when you do that. Crime just
yeah,
goes up. So
yeah,
unfortunately, it's like common sense is now like an asset. You're like
yeah.
like incredibly gifted if you have common sense. So yeah, I'm running to really make good decisions for our city, Tracy. I feel like I can really be of help, and I'm excited. The good thing is that because I'm not a career politician. I don't need this. Does
Right.
that make sense? Like
Yeah,
I'm doing it out of service. Like I'm trying to serve the people.
yeah,
I can't be bought. I can't be swayed. Like people can
yeah,
come and say, "Hey, I'll support you if you do this." Well, no, thank you. You can support me if you believe in what I believe.
yeah, yeah.
So
I
so
think that's
yeah.
great. I think it's excellent because we are in a desperate situation. So in Seattle, I'm in Seattle. They've defunded.
Hmm.
They're doing the same thing, defunding the police and
Right.
the activity. We were at the chop zone down there when they were giving up the six
Wow.
blocks of. So there's been this, and there's never good results from it. It's not. And so we need new politics, and new politics may be just like what we saw with President Trump. Everyone was mad because he's a businessman coming in, and I'm like, you guys are not going to get a politician here. You're going to get a businessman. He's going to treat this
Hmm.
country like a company, and you're going to have to be okay with it. Well, economically we did great. Economically, I think he could have accomplished more if he wasn't in a constant fight. But we're in a
Right.
situation where we're seeing like yesterday, his house was raided, and we're seeing all kinds of things happen that should never happen. And I think it's because of the policies and those that are they're leading. So, what is the message that you have as a political leader? What is the message that we can go? We're behind you. We're behind you, Marco. Go ahead and do this thing.
Well, Tracy, I believe that a leader in governments and government number one job is safety and protection. That is the number one job, is
Very
not
good.
anything else. Safety and protection. So for that, you have to look at what brings safety and protection. In my city, that's the police department. And then number two is giving people the opportunity to thrive. So that means removing all the obstacles. As a leader in my city, my objective is to remove all the obstacles out of the system so that people can thrive in commerce. So how do you do that? Well, you don't increase taxes, you decrease taxes. If you increase taxes, well, that means that the people have less to do commerce with. And that means that if that happens, then people have less opportunities to thrive. So, and on the other side of the aisle, they're always thinking, oh, we need more revenue, more revenue. The government doesn't have a revenue problem; they have a spending problem. So you need to be effective, you need to be efficient. And unfortunately, most of these people making decisions have never had to make payroll or meet a budget or anything like that. To them, money is like monopoly dollars, and they're so used to people just printing money. Oh, I need money. Hey, Governor Newsom, send me more. Here in San Diego County, they're trying to weaponize monkeypox. And he said it because it gives him an opportunity for more funding in California. Think about it.
Wow.
Yes. So my objective in the council is safety and protection. And number two is to give people, empower people with the opportunity to thrive, for the economy to grow, attract businesses. I know that as a businessman, if I'm in the council, in fact, in Chula Vista, they say that is the worst city to do business in San Diego County. So my objective, my vision is to make it the best city to do business in. So changing all the systems, permits be easier online. So that's what I want to do, and I believe we can do a really good job if I'm elected.
Yeah, I think you can as well. I mean, you've shown improving. You are on a fast pace in everything you do to a greater level of success and impact. I think it's strange that someone would want to weaponize at all any kind of disease, especially monkeypox, because it's mostly associated to the gay community. It's not associated to the common population, which tells us there's going to be another agenda along with that as well.
100%.
So you're in a very good position. You're in a solid position. Before we wrap up, is there anything you want to say to our listeners? Just last thoughts. What faith? Something about freedom? Something about finance? Any last thoughts you want to give?
Yeah, I'll just say, we live in such a fast-paced life, Tracy, that it's easy to get caught up in the problems of life, the day-to-day. So if you're listening, I would just say, just know that there is a God. He's bigger than your problems. All you have to do sometimes is just look up and believe that he can do anything. He's done it in my life. He can do it for you. And just like he can do anything, you can also become anything. And as you become anything, you can achieve anything. So don't get discouraged if you're fighting discouragement right now. Find yourself a good leader like Tracy. Go to his church, learn from him, and go live your best life.
Awaken Church is a great church.
Yes, come on, absolutely.
That's excellent. Well, Marco, that's great. So listen, how do we follow you? How do we get connected?
So you can follow me on Instagram. I have two accounts. One is Marco A. Contreras. That's my family personal account, Marco A. Contreras. And then my political one is Marco for CV, for Chula Vista, Marco for CV. And we can stay connected. And man, this was great, Tracy. Thank you so much for inviting me. I just loved hanging out with you, man.
You're amazing. And again, it's always a pleasure. You can tell when you speak that there's incredible faith behind the words that you speak, and there's confidence in not only God but in who God's called you to be and what God's called you to do, and your love for the people come out because you can tell just your love for people just expresses through your conversation. And the purpose behind your running for politics is there. So we're excited. We'll be praying for you. We'll be looking for you. And if you're in California, in the Chula Vista, especially, but if you're in California, get in the vote for Marco, and let's get him into his office so he can start bringing change and start making change happen. Marco, thank you again so much. And tell Natalie and your kids hello. Look forward to seeing you guys again soon.
Will do. Thank you so much, Tracy.
Well, again, this is the Futurist Rant. I'm telling you, if you If you didn't get anything out of that, you need to listen to it again, watch it again. Marco is carrying something for this generation. I think he's a leader that's going to continue to progress in his political career. And as a futurist, I see him going a lot of just great places. I see his business continuing growing. So follow that guy and watch what happens in his life, because he is going to be someone who brings about dramatic change. And I think it's going to happen in Chula Vista real quick. I want you to continue to follow us on the Futurist Rant. Continue to check us out on Instagram and check us out on Facebook, and also connect with us on YouTube and on iTunes.